What's going on, guys? Today I wanted to bring you another one of my NAWCQ 2014 hat format deck profiles. The deck I wanted to show off today is Constellar Artifacts, which back in the day in hat format, this deck wasn't that common. It was tested around with a little, but definitely was nowhere near as good as it is now, with people testing ratios and just trying it out in different ways. So I wanted to show off this deck profile. It's seen a lot of more recent play, as I mentioned, and has actually done really well in a lot of recent hat format tournaments, and I've really been enjoying playing the deck. I know a lot of people really enjoy Constellars, so hopefully you guys will enjoy this deck profile as well. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off with the artifacts, we are playing 3 copies of Madolche. This card needs no explanation. It's the best artifact basically during this time period, along with 2 copies of Beagletech. From testing, I have found that I really do enjoy the second Beagletech, though if you wanted to, definitely test it out with just one. I think this card is a lot better with the fact that DD Crow is in the format, so having the second copy is nice. And I'll talk about some other changes I would make if I were to cut this, but that is it for the artifacts. Just a simple 5. Moving on to the Constellars, 3 copies of Constellar costs, which basically level modulates. You can target a Constellar monster, including itself, up to twice per turn, and increase or decrease its level by 1. In this deck, you'll just be increasing it most of the time, or just not using the effect at all. After that, 3 copies of Constellar Pollux. Basically, this one, when the turn it's normal summoned, allows you to normal summon an additional Constellar monster that turn. Super good to get into early access to those rank 4 and 5 Xyz monsters. Next, 3 copies of Constellar H.A.T. This is basically Pollux, except instead of giving you an additional normal summon, it special summons a Constellar from hand. And after that, I play 2 copies of Constellar Sombre. In theory, this is one of your better Constellars, but it's, in my opinion, better late game. So I've seen a lot of people test with playing 1 copy, 2 copies, 3 copies. I found from testing that 2 is just the best. And so what this card does is it allows you to banish a Constellar from grave and then add a different Constellar from your graveyard to your hand, and then it allows you to get an additional normal summon of a Constellar. So this kind of is a recovery play. For example, if you, say, got Excitoned or just out-advantaged, or it was a grindy game, this kind of puts you back into the game. But if you see this card too early, a lot of times it just feels dead. I guess there's situations where you could see it with H.A.T or Pollux and just make a rank 4, but for the most part, to get full advantage of its main effect that I had mentioned, you definitely would prefer to see it late game. But anyways, that is it for the Constellars. I tested Honest at one point in this deck, but it kind of took away from what the deck needed to do, and it never really came up where it was super impactful having that. The only hand traps I am playing are 2 copies of Max C. I choose to side the 3rd copy. Reason being, there is a lot of slower decks in the format, for example, like H.A.T, Geargia, that, can take the gameplay a little slower and grindier. So a lot of those games, this ends up just being a 1-for-1 kind of, just trading, acting like a upstart goblin. If you like the Maxi in the main more, definitely, go for it, try 3. But my personal preference through testing is 2 is the perfect number. And that is it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, 3 copies of Artifact Ignition, just a really good card, kind of like an MST that also sets your artifacts, and 2 copies of Double Cyclone. Sometimes I like this card, sometimes I don't. There's points where I've wanted to even drop this down to 1 or just play regular MST, but playing the amount of artifacts I do, I really do enjoy this, along with some of the other spells and traps I play. It kind of works out really nicely with those. Then 2 copies of Instant Fusion. I've considered playing 3 of this. It actually is just a really good card you want to see often. The one downside to me is just it's once per turn. There are some changes also I would make to the extra deck specifically if I were to play the 3rd, but so far 2 has worked out really well. 2 copies of Tenki. It can add you your Chaos, which is a Beast Warrior. The thing is to me, Chaos is one of the not as good Constellar monsters versus, say, Pollux. So playing only 2 Tenkis to search that is completely fine. You don't want to see too many because on its own it doesn't do as much unless it's paired with something else. Obviously the other ones need other cards too, but it just doesn't feel as good. I play 1 copy of Rhoda to search your Pollux because that's a card that you definitely want to see no matter what other Constellars you see. And 2 copies of Soul Charge. You want to have it when you need it, but you also want to have it just if you're trying to build up a board again. You can do some really, really crazy plays with this, but I think 3 is too much and 1 just isn't enough. As for the trap cards, probably one of the best trap cards in the whole format itself. 3 copies of Artifact Sanctum. 3 copies of Call the Haunted, just in order to bring back those artifacts, or even, for your turn, bring back some of your Constellar monsters. Also, I guess if you overlay with the material that you summon back with this, you're able to then double Cyclone and use this free fodder, or bounce it with Pleiades in the extra deck that we'll get to in a bit. 2 copies of Fiendish Chain. Sort of similar concept where if your opponent ends up, overlaying with the material or something, or just being able to negate an important card and then Pleiades bounce this back and have it as an additional negate. You could also play Breakthrough Skill over this. Completely normal. I just have kind of been liking Fiendish lately. A lot of builds in the past also played Fiendish. Test around with it, see what you like. The last 2 cards are Torrential and Warning. That's it for the main deck. Moving on to the extra deck for our Instant Fusion target, I play Ojama Knight, specifically because it's a light level 5, so it lets you access, Pleiades in the extra deck, as well as working really, really well with your copies of Chaos, just to, increase its own level, and then, Instant Fusion make a rank 5. Really, really powerful. 1 Gaia Dragon. You can Call the Haunted, your dead Pleiades, or any other 5s for that matter, go into this and have a much better option there. 1 M7, 1 Tiras, 2 copies of Pleiades. This card is just so good. It does everything the deck needs in terms of recycling your own resources, outing opponents' cards, and just having interruption on their turn. 1 Volcasaurus, 1 Durandal, 1 Shark Fortress. This doesn't see as much play, but I personally really like it. It basically allows a monster to attack twice, so it can really help you end games quickly, so I do really enjoy that. That's it for the higher level stuff. For the rank 4s, 1 copy of Constellar Omega, being able to make your Constellar monsters unaffected by spell and trap cards. 1 Honor Arc, 1 Exciton, 1 Dweller, 1 Cowboy, and 1 Rhapsody in Berserk. And that's it for the extra deck. In terms of changes I would make to the extra, you can test out Heartland Draco, being able to attack directly, as well as take full advantage of the fact that sometimes you will have a Tenki face up, so it won't be able to be targeted for attacks. I also really do like Lavavel Chain in artifact decks in general, just being able to dump an artifact if need be, and since you're playing the 3 Call of the Haunted, it's always going to be live. Other than that, maybe if I added more Instant Fusion to the deck, I'd want to play another target for it, specifically probably a level 4, just so I have more access to rank 4s if I need that. But for the most part, I think the deck is super solid. You guys can let me know, test it out, let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions about what cards you should be siding in this deck, or siding patterns in general for this deck, or seeing some gameplay and things, definitely let me know in the comment section, and I'll try to get that put together for you guys. As well as, if you enjoyed this video, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. I really do appreciate it. And anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.